everyone. Dr. Mike here, TCOM 408. In this video, I want to give some tips and directions for creating a strong classroom presentation. I also want to give you some of the grading rubric and expectations. So check the presentation schedule. These presentations will be coming up soon, and on Canvas you can find the exact date when you are scheduled to present. So here's the deal. Each student will make a 10 to 15 minute presentation on a specific case study involving some sort of ethical situation or dilemma. Your case study must be based on some real-world ethical issue that is related to the media or tech worlds. The case study should be based on your individual interest and goals. I've given you some good resources for locating case studies. So search the web for a fairly recent topic. By fairly recent, I mean within the past 5 years. The topic must involve some specific controversy in the world of TV, advertising, news, social media, video games, data privacy, anything related to media and tech. Now, in the presentation, I want you to imagine that you are in the role of the primary moral agent, the person who ultimately has to make the ethical decision. Moral agents are the ones who make the ethical judgments. Now, because of the COVID crisis, you will have a certain amount of flexibility in how you want to actually deliver your presentation. You could do it live in class, or you can pre-record it to be viewed during the class time. If you're going to pre-record your presentation, which is fine, I just ask that you include an image of yourself and use your voice. Make a voice over. Now let's talk about some of the options you have in terms of producing this presentation. Okay, I think the easiest way to do this is with PowerPoint. And if you're going to do a virtual presentation, you need to learn how to add voiceover to your PowerPoint, but it's very simple. Another option is to use something like Prezi, okay, the online presentation tool. But again, you'll have to learn how to add voiceover to your Prezi if you're going to do this as a virtual presentation. Maybe you want to create a video. That's fine. Okay? Use whatever production skills you might have. Okay, so how would you add voiceover to your PowerPoint if you want to create a virtual presentation? Now, this is fairly easy. You just go to the tab that says Slideshow and then select Record Slideshow and then just start talking. After you have recorded your slideshow, then export the file as a video. Export and create a video. Then all you have to do is upload the video to Canvas. Not too difficult. Now, in the presentation, I really encourage you to use Louis Day's SAD model. This is a great approach for dealing with an ethical dilemma. So step 1, define the situation. Step 2, do an in-depth analysis. And step 3, render a decision. So I will recap these steps. Step 1, situation definition. You need to describe the facts to identify the main facts, and then identify the main ethical principles or values that seem to be important in this case. Finally, you want a clear, concise statement of the ethical issue or question. I would strongly encourage you to post your statement of ethical issue as a question. For example, is it ethical to fill in the blank? Step 2, that's where you really want to do the in-depth analysis. You have to start weighing the competing principles and values involved and trying to determine out which ones are paramount. You might have to consider a number of external factors. Of course, you want to examine all of the obligations and duties that you have to all of the stakeholders. In the analysis section, you want to discuss any applicable ethical theories and maybe identify some alternatives, some golden mean alternatives. Step 3 is actually making the decision, rendering your decision, and being able to defend that decision based upon some moral theory. So I would strongly encourage you to follow that model. And of course, you want to consider your obligations and duties to yourself, to the object of your moral judgments, to your employer and financial supporters, to your profession, to society, and to the environment. And of course, you're expected to use some of the ethical theories, the wisdom of the ages that we talked about in class. For example, the golden mean. That is very useful in a lot of ethical situations. But please consider things like social responsibility ethics and professional ethics. And I want you, if it's applicable, to check any professional codes of ethics to see if they provide any guidance. All right, here's the grading rubric for the presentations. Okay, these are the criteria I'll be looking at as I assess your presentation. First, your description, your definition of the situation. Have you presented the basic facts of the case in complete and logical sequence? What's your statement of the ethical issue? I'm looking for a very clear, precise, succinct summary of the ethical question at hand. I certainly want to know the values that are important to you. Elaborate all of the competing values and principles in the case. Moral theory. Have you identified any applicable ethical theories? Can you discuss them clearly and apply them? What's your ethical decision? Is it clear? Is it strong? And is it backed up by moral theory? And of course, you're going to consider some of the mechanics. Okay, the clarity, the spelling, the grammar, the visuals, the audio used, are the visuals relevant and engaging? All right, there's the directions for the presentations and some tips. I hope you paid close attention and you found this information useful. Good luck as you prepare for your class and presentations. Please check the schedule. If you have any questions, contact me. Take care and so long.